You got it next time, Ash. You got it next time.
It did something weird. I don't know what it
I was
did.
frozen like this. Like,
Fine.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I, of course, am one of your hosts, Decon, here with a very, very mysterious.
Ooh, SOS, and here with the one and the only
Messy Jessie, and I am here with lovely and dark Ash.
Dirty Bird. Oh,
Overruled?
Oh, dirty.
No. I got something special for him. Okay, you guys, wait for it.
oh
Okay.
boy.
We are welcoming back the stupendous, the fantastic, the most fabulous CIA agent on the entire planet.
Messy Jessie.
Oh. And today we have another great episode, and this is the Thursday show. This is a rated R show. So if you guys are sensitive to certain things and like certain jokes or certain topics, you guys can go watch Mr. Beast give money to the homeless and then hold some kind of pie eating contest in the middle of New England. So if you guys are not sensitive at all, come to the show. Today we have an awesome show. So today we're going to be talking about, what's the topic, guys?
Sensitivity.
Sensitivity. So
Mr. Beast.
when you're sensitive, there's certain classes
here we go.
that you can take where you sit there in a classroom and then they bring out like certain ink things and they're like, what do you see when I hold this up? And then you're like,
Is that home
I see
economics?
no, of course, no. It's like, I see a beautiful
It's
flower.
bio.
I'm like, oh, okay. What do you see now? So anyway, yeah, what's the topic, guys? Come on. Can you guys be serious for 1 minute?
I'm serious.
Yeah, okay. So
PTSD
So what's the
I thought we were going to talk about you wanted to talk about my mom. For real.
talk about your mother? Your mother.
My mother. Yeah.
Mother.
Mama.
Dancing song. Mother. Tell
Hey,
your
my
children
Yeah.
not to-
Jason, thanks for showing up. Yeah. No,
Okay.
So
yeah. So did you just
that's the topic.
Did you just want to talk
No,
about my
no.
mother?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about your mother. Your mama. No, so yeah, I always found like over the years, guys, come on. Over the years, let's see. Decon looks 16. I'll take that as a compliment. You know, I'm 30. I'm 36. There's a lot of people out there that are 36 and they look 73. So I'll take it. My dad's actually 84 years old. And he's he's 84 years old and he's actually in really good shape. Like he's got these like humongous guns. You guys have seen him, right? So yeah.
Yeah, you've sent us
Yeah.
pictures.
He's in better
Yeah,
shape than
he's-
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Whatever.
Anyway, so back to the topic. So yeah, over the years, I've heard stories here and there of the very famous SOS's mother, and I always found that to be so interesting because I think that she deserves a show all by herself because there's just so many different adventures and endeavors. One of the stories that I really, really enjoyed the first time I heard this story, I think 8 years ago, you were telling me about your mom, and it was about, I'm going to let you tell the story, but the story of the famous Volkswagen, the car that Hitler designed. Go ahead.
It does have a swastika on the side too. It does. It just so I know, right? So, it's a 1960 Volkswagen, and I have it in my garage, and it still runs like a top. And so there was a few stories about the Volkswagen. There's a funny one before I get to the serious one. The funny one is it's so old that it does not have a gas gauge. And so when she was pregnant with me, my dad and my grandfather, once a week, when mom would go to bed early, or they would push it out of the driveway and then start it and take it down to the gas station and fill it up. Well, she drove this thing for like the whole time she was pregnant with me, and she kept telling all her friends, "The hell, man, this thing It's crazy on gas. He gets like 1,000 miles of the gallon because he's a gas gauge. She didn't know they were filling it up every week. Okay. So yeah, that's the jokester those guys were. So the other story though, so it was after she had me, and my mom was a medium, clairvoyant, psychic medium. She did telemetry, like holding an object and could read the object and find out about people or what the, and anyway, this, since the guy, it didn't have a gas gauge in it, once they stopped filling it up for her every week, it has a reserve tank, the way the old Volkswagens work, and they have a little thing on a switch on the floorboard that if you run out of gas, you basically you hit it with your foot, and you can toggle it from one side to the other, and it lets like another gallon of gas into the tank. It holds it in reserve, and then it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so you never know without the gas gauge unless you're actually checking it. And I've had this happen to me on the way home on Hawthorne Road. I ran out of gas. I'm like, shit. And then I forgot the reserve tank. So I flipped the switch. You wait about 10, 15 seconds, and then you fire it up, and away you go. So anyway, she being she had premonitions constantly, daily, like all these premonitions. And she had a premonition that this was in San Fernando, California. So it's Southern California. It's real close to Hollywood, where my dad worked. So there's this like 4-lane boulevard that she had to cross. And to get across of it, it was Sepulveda Boulevard. I'll never forget it, Sepulveda. And it was really, really busy. A lot of truck traffic on that boulevard. Okay. Like cement trucks and,
it's
belly dumps, and it's insane. And she said that the night before, she dreamed that she was sitting at the intersection and she saw a cement truck coming, and she had to turn left in front of the cement truck and get over to the slow lane, right? And as she thought, I got plenty of space, I'm going to go ahead and do my left turn and then get into the lane and let him go by. And as she pulled out, the Volkswagen stopped. It ran out of fuel, and it stops. It's dead. It's just dead. And it takes like 10, 15 seconds for that reserve tank to fill. And she's trying to start the Volkswagen, and the cement truck hit her. So the very next day, she's sitting there, and she's and then she's like, oh, and then everything comes back to her from the night before of this dream. But anyway, she looks left, she looks right, and there's that freaking cement truck. And she sat there, and she's like, do I dare go?
No.
And so, nope. She just sat there, and after the lane, everything was clear. She did her left. She ran out of fuel. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just that kind of stuff that happened every single day.
Premonitions. It's one of those things that it's super interesting. So my father, now that we're speaking about Volkswagen, my dad had those kind of situations too. I remember one time when I was a kid in El Salvador, we were walking down this park, and these trees, they paint them white, they decorate basically all kinds of dumb shit. Anyway, so we're walking down, and my dad says, "Okay, everybody stop," and then we just stopped. And it's like, everybody just start slowly walking back. So we start walking back. All of a sudden, a big chunk of this tree just boom, basically just explodes like a big chunk of bark. And he's like, all right, let's turn around, let's go. So we start walking back, and then, then later he ended up telling us that he had a dream the day before that we were walking, and some guy with a rifle, his round, like he was like fucking with his rifle or whatever, and the round went off, and it went, and if we would have kept walking, that round would have gone through him or one of us, but my dad had that dream. So then we're walking, and as we're walking, it's almost like he saw that tree and immediately recognized it. He's like, oh, okay, everybody stop. And then all of a sudden I just remember the crack and then just the bark, And he's like, all right, let's go that way. So we just turned around and left. It's just one of those things. Yeah, he had so many interesting things like that. I remember when my mom, when her brother died, the story goes, I wasn't born yet, but the story goes that my dad wakes up and he sits up and he wakes up my mom and he said, I just saw a blinker and it exploded. He said, and as soon as it exploded, he says, I don't know, I have like a really bad feeling, and he just said, I don't know, pero se hace mirar, and he's like, I'm sorry, basically is what he told her. So she's like, what? Then my mom says, then the phone rang. And then the phone rang and they answer it, and then they told her that my mom's youngest brother got intoxicated, drove a motorcycle, and they got hit by a semi, and then the driver didn't know that he hit him until a light bulb exploded, and it was the blinker, that ended up exploding off of the damn bike. So yeah, so my dad like sits up and he like just tells like something bad just happened, and then the phone rings. So it's just crazy, and then you wonder like why do certain things like that exist? Like why do people have that?
I think we all have it to a point. I think probably every single one of us was thinking about somebody and then they called that ESP connection. Or we know, like before we had smartphones and we could see who was calling or the phone number. We had a corded phone for all of you young people. They actually were attached to the wall. You didn't know but you knew who was calling. You just pick up the phone and go, hey, so-and-so. No, how did you know? It's like, I think most of us have it. It's whether or not we really tap into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now it's kind of like when somebody knocks on your door, and sometimes you and now everybody has cameras, so now like there's movements in your front. Back in my day, when someone back in my day, you had to look out your window to see who was coming, and if it was somebody like Mormon missionaries or something, and then you're like looking at the blinds and you just like open them and they stand there and they look at you and you don't want them to come in and you don't know what to do, then you just freeze. You just stare at them like this and you don't move. And then they go and they wave. And then they wave at you. They're waving at you and you don't move. No, you don't move at all. You just stay like this.
Oh.
They just stare. And then they ring the doorbell and they knock on the window and you train yourself to not move a muscle or blink. You just stare. So then eventually they walk away, right? And as they're walking away and you're getting ready to let go of the blinds and they turn around, you go back to the way you were and you stare. And then they don't know what the hell that was. They're like, was that a wax statue? What is going on?
What?
Well, so I think all of us have it, and I think some of us, some of us really tap into it. Some of us don't. I'm surprised that my mom actually, she was like off the hook with her abilities, and my grandmother was not so kind. Her mom was not so kind about it. So, and I think but my mom couldn't turn it off. I think the more she tried to turn it off as a child, the more intense it became, to where there was no turning it off. There was no denying what she could
feel
do.
that so much in my soul. So much.
My grandmother was not, my mom's mom was not a kind woman. It's just the way it is. She just wasn't kind, and she didn't treat my mom very kind. And I think my mom would have done anything to try to please her, but there was just no getting away from the fact that she had this gift. And my grandmother didn't have it. So it had to have come from my mom's dad, my grandfather, who I never met. So
I almost said that. I'm sorry. I almost said that.
No, exactly. I think it came from him. He died before I was born. And yeah, I think I almost think that my grandmother was resentful of the fact that she didn't have it. It was strange.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there was a lot of stuff. So my father was he built airplanes, and he was also a test pilot. And there were times when she would call him on a mission and say, this is going to happen. Like, your landing gear is not going to come down. Like,
Damn.
what are you talking about? We did a full inspection. I don't know, Bob, but your landing gear is not coming down. Look for grass. So they would pick a field out. They would fly over until they found somewhere where they could lay in and like bring it down in either a grass landing strip, a privately owned landing strip, or an alfalfa field or something like that. It was just this constant. Yeah.
So
Wow.
you know how some people say that things
Yes.
like that, like certain abilities skip a generation. You know, like, well, my grandfather had it, but you know, my dad didn't have it. Now I have. You know what I'm talking about?
It can do that, or it
Yeah.
doesn't. I think it's pretty random. What, Jesse? You're dying here.
I
What is wrong with
feel-
Jesse?
I'm sorry. I don't know why, but I'm getting this sense with your dad that your mom helped him kind of open his ability a little bit
For sure.
because of the, like, he was a little skeptic at first,
Oh, big time.
but he started to realize that she was right on the money on a lot of things.
Yep.
I've got chills
Yeah.
right now because he's
I
like,
love
it was
that.
because of her I opened myself.
Yeah, and he did. And that's when he started doing automatic writing. And so he tapped into his own stuff.
Oh my God. I just got like a journal, a blank page.
I have freaking chills right now, Jess. You're going
He
to
would sit out with the dogs with his Lay's potato chips and his bucket of beer in the sun with the sketch pad because he was a cartoonist. For those of you who don't know, my dad was the Pink Panther cartoonist for years. And so he did the storyboarding and he did the comic strips and he did all the strips for the cartoons. They would make the
Oh boy.
right?
Did he
Yeah.
ever draw
What?
your mom and him?
I never saw it if he did. He did draw a lot of naked ladies, but I don't know if it was my mom.
You gotta see those tits.
I'm just asking.
He would sit out in the sun, you know, like, because we grew up, we were close to Tahoe, not too far, and he would sit out in the sunshine. He'd have his bucket of beer, his sketch pad, and all the dogs and the Lay's potato chips. But he started automatic drawing, and he said he started it when he was doze. He would doze in the sunshine.
Damn.
And then he would start drawing. And then he drew this little building one time. And anyway, so he built it. It was a little miner's cabin. And so he built it on the property. And then he was automatic writing another time, and the name came up of a person. And he went down. We still had a gold assay office, and we still had all of those mining claim offices, right? And he found out that name was connected to a mining claim on that land.
Oh, yeah.
It was
Wow.
bananas. So, but
I really
he
feel
tapped
like
into that.
yeah.
He tapped into that, but he had denied it.
Yeah. And I feel like your mom gave him the security and the, like, okay, I'm not crazy. I truly believe that your mom and dad found each other to help each other.
Possibly.
Holy shit.
Possibly. Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, he denied it a lot, but then he couldn't deny it anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
So
because your mom told him, I'm telling you right now.
See,
it was Kennedy. It was Kennedy's assassination that put him over the edge.
that's the next story I was gonna
Yeah.
tell you. Well, I was gonna have you tell that
remember
story.
that
This is a great story. You should tell it.
Well,
Once upon a time.
once upon a time, so mom and dad were sitting at the breakfast table, and dad always had the LA Times, right? And he's reading the Times, and they're drinking their coffee before they do the day, and she grabs the newspaper out of my dad's hand. She starts crying. She's like, "Oh my God." And she's running over to the TV, and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" And she's like, "Kennedy was shot." She's like, he goes, "What the hell are you talking about?" She's like, "Kennedy was shot." And he looks at the paper and he goes, "What are you talking about?" That wasn't there. It wasn't on the front page of the newspaper. There's nothing on the TV. There's nothing on the radio. She's bawling. She can't believe it. I mean, everybody loved Kennedy. The country wasn't divided like it is now, right? So everybody rallied behind your president, and well, most. But and so he's like, he goes, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, describe what you're seeing. So she describes the picture. She describes Onassis like climbing out over Kennedy's body to get out of the car. You know, that iconic photo. Over, and she holds him at first. She's climbing over. It shows she's describing the whole thing, and she's just bawling. And he goes, Donnie, that picture's not there. That article's not there. That hasn't happened. It happened that day.
Wow.
So the next day, there it is. The picture, the article, everything. Because he wrote down, he goes, who wrote the article? Who do you see? Who's the byline, right? And so
the Kennedy thing.
She read the name, and so he wrote it down on a piece of paper, like he drew out what she saw, because he was an artist.
Yeah.
Right? So he draws the car, he draws the whole scene, and then he put in the byline the author of the article. And the next day, there it is. I mean, it happened that day, so that the very next morning, there it was. And he compares it, and it's like, there it is.
We should go down this avenue. I'm telling you, woman, if you tell me one more time what to do.
You know,
that is just bizarre.
When you have like that, you don't So she's given me the gift of premonition. I don't have the gift of the mediumship like she did, but the premonitions, I get it a little bit. And it's funny because it's never a good thing. It's never, I'm going to have a premonition that I am going to win the lotto. It's not that. It's events. Right?
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Can you predict that for me?
See.
So, do you remember the Boise Mall shooting that we had a couple years ago? The night before that happened, I came right out of my bed. I was panicked. I thought it was going to be Idaho Falls.
Just you talking about that.
I thought it was going to be Idaho Falls, and I started calling. I called Mark on our team. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And he goes, you don't say anything. You just tell your friends to stay away. He goes, because if you call, then they think you're in on it.
Yep.
And they're going to have your ass down there. And I'm like, what do I do? But I thought it was Idaho Falls. And then the next day it happened in Boise. But I saw it play out. I've only been to the Idaho Falls Mall a couple of times. So I really thought that, because I don't know the layout up there. I've only been there like twice in my life. So I didn't know, but I knew it was Idaho. I just thought it was going to be.
You only need to go twice.
Damn, those damn generational gifts. Like the only thing I have is when I win a game of bingo or something, and my dad's there and he loses, and he gets super pissed off. I'm like, sorry, Dad, the winning gene, it skips a generation.
I'm gonna tell my dad that.
Dunk.
Like, jeez.
And I'm sure with his muscles and everything, he probably kicked your.
No, he's old. I'd beat him to death.
Oh my God.
I think your dad could take you.
I don't think so.
From pictures that we've seen, I think he could take you.
No, I'd kill him. And I don't know if he's watching.
Beat you with a chancla.
Mira, si estás viendo, te voy a matar, hijo de puta. All right, can we be serious? Okay, so there was another.
Sorry.
Are we done?
We're done.
We have okay. Thank you guys. Dirty Birdie's the only one over there acting professional. Is that a fake smile you just gave me?
A couple times, Kay.
Did you? Is that you, Birdie, or is that a wax statue? So there was another.
God, we've missed Birdie.
So there was another story about a home that I also like the story too, because it's got one of those like moments where it's like, damn it, woman, you know, it was damn it, woman. It's just kind of like, don't tell me my business, devil woman. So anyway, tell that story about that house. Like, I think we've told this story before, haven't we?
We have. It was my childhood home, and so we moved up to close to Lake Tahoe. For those of you who want to know, it was called Camino, and it was in between Sacramento and Tahoe, but it was up in the mountains. And my dad had flew over on a search and rescue and fell in love with the area, and so that was it. So he packed us up, moved us. What was that?
I sneezed.
Oh my god, it sounded like this.
I thought he snort farted there for a second, but it was whatever.
Oh, somebody stepped on a cat.
Anyway,
Was it your
You know, sometimes I wish I never went back for water on that Humvee. Anyway, go ahead.
we were
Holy shit.
Okay, we went up there. My parents.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm trying, man.
What's wrong? What's the matter? Is it something we can talk about?
So,
Like, are you all right?
Yeah, shut up.
Do you need a moment?
My parents were. It was a weekend when we went up there to find a house to buy, and my dad, my mom, they had looked at. There were only two houses in their price range, and we're talking at the time with land, $28,000, with land, like huge homes with land, and anyway, we
like
looked at one and it was
600 million today?
Oh God, I can't even imagine.
No, don't be ridiculous, Bertie.
What?
So
We good?
yeah, we're good. So we go. We looked at one house and it was absolutely disgusting. And I remember years later driving by it on my commute, and I'm like, oh God, I remember how nasty that house was. But the only other house that they could afford, it was this house that they ultimately bought. But when we drove up, the land sloped down towards the house, and it was all, forest, beautifully landscaped, gorgeous place. But the house always appeared to me, and it looked to me even then, like it was crouching, like it was ready to leap forward. It was just, I hated that house. So my mom, we're parked at the very top of the road, and it's a little tiny, paved lane in the forest, and he goes, well, this is the house. Let's go look at it. And she goes, I'm not getting out of the car. He goes, what are you talking about? And he was quite irritated at this point. My dad never cursed. He always never. And he goes, but he looked at her and he goes, damn it, Dottie, get out of the car. He's looking at him. She goes, you don't understand. The house is full.
That's a man.
Yeah. Well, he regretted it because like 40 years later, we were walking one morning on our little airport runway early in the morning, taking a walk. And he goes, that house is what caused the divorce.
Oh.
Yeah.
It wasn't finance or stuff like that. It was what was going on in that house. That house was full. We found out probably 5 years after we lived in it that it was a senior care facility. Several years before we bought it. And it had like 9 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms, and couldn't figure out. Mom's like, I can't figure this house out. Why is it built like this? And yeah, so there was a lot of death in this house.
Yeah, that was the house that I don't remember if you said it felt this way or if your mother said it felt, but it almost felt crowded.
Crowded.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Crowded.
Yeah, like
yeah.
The what?
She said it was
like,
crowded.
Yeah, it was like crowded, and you're like, what are you talking about? And it just like felt crowded, like when you're in a crowded room and you kind of like get that feeling, you're like, you get that feeling of unease. And here's another question. I don't know if it's a question, but it's more of a, so, when you enter a room and you just feel like uncomfortable.
Yes.
Either, and I think we've talked about this before, but it's a couple of things. Like either it could be like you enter a room and you're like, damn, this feels shitty, or I don't know what it is. And then somebody's like that, and then somebody just walks in like, you should have seen what happened 10 minutes ago before you got here.
Yeah.
Somebody just, they got into it, and it was ugly, and it's almost like that feeling of just that heaviness is still in
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing this.
Happened to me at work the other day.
Heaviness.
Jazz
It's
hands.
still in
Jazz hands.
it's still in the,
Yeah.
it's still in the,
Oh wait, he does move. Do that again.
oh,
Oh my god.
30
it's
It was
all
really
on the
almost like
street,
this.
folks.
minutes. Don't blink.
But also another thing, ladies and gentlemen, that's all done with strings. So it's one of those things where it's either something bad happened like before you got there, or maybe it is that feeling where it's crowded, and you just don't know what it is, and just like, damn, it feels off.
Yeah.
So-
no,
Yeah.
when something bad goes down in a place, you're gonna feel it. That
Yeah,
person
you know.
stays there forever.
There was a guy that I think it might have been Joe. I think it might have been Joe Rogan. He was saying that he was looking for homes, and he found this beautiful house, and he was gonna buy it, and he was like, "Damn, like this house is beautiful," and he's like walking through it, but then he's like, "This house feels fucked up." And he's like, I don't know if I want to stay here. He tells that story. You guys can look it up on YouTube. He's like, this house feels fucked up. Like, I don't want to be part. Like, I don't know what it is. He says, I don't. And then finally, the realtor guy's like, all right, I'm going to tell you, this is where the John Benet Ramsey murder went down.
Oh yeah. He was looking for a house in Colorado.
Yep. And then he's like, this house.
Recognize that house.
Well, I
They
mean,
probably changed it. Like,
well, also, I mean, if you're not into true crime or anything like that, you just don't know. You walk in like, this house looks nice,
I guess
Some
I'm one of
states
So he's
are
like-
required to disclose. Some states you aren't. Idaho, you don't have to disclose if a murder or a suicide or a death happens. But in California, in
or a
California,
drag show.
it was 3 years. It was 3 years, and then you didn't have to disclose. I don't know if they changed the laws, but there wasn't, as far as we know, a murder in the house, but there was a death in the house.
yeah.
And, people are, and I say this in our class all the time, you are in death as you are in life. So there were dead people in that house that were not nice.
Yep.
Not nice at all. And there were some that were lovely. They were just sweet. But
It's crazy what we can pick up, I find that I pick up a lot of things, especially like even I'll give an instance like today at my work, I feel a lot of negativity and a lot of chaos. And it was also brought to me that there's a lot of energy in the air because of the planets. So
Yeah.
turn a lot
Because
of
of the what?
chaos. The
The
planets,
planets.
they're supposed to be all like
Well,
really aligned.
the alignment right now.
Yeah, they're still lined up.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we also have eclipse coming up this next month.
Oh, goody.
So,
The red moon is in March too.
Yeah.
yes.
It's the cosmic railgun that's going to kill us all.
No, that's when if you piss off a cosmic, it's when you piss off a cosmic witch during that time. That's when you fucked up. Anyway, so yeah, you know what's fun is a haunted house in Idaho, and if I were to move into like a house, like pick a house, like any old house in Idaho, and you put down like an EVP recorder, it would be like a Puerto Rican in my house, and I'm like, I'm Salvadorian, no, but they don't care.
I'm trying to manifest this house in my life that you can
This
test that theory.
No, it's just every house. Anyway, so what's interesting is that what? Anyway, so what's interesting is when you do get a situation where somebody has ability, and then there's people that are skeptic. I'm a skeptic. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm very skeptical of a lot of things. But there's people that are super diehard skeptics, and then when something happens that they can't explain, and then they try to, rationalize it, and they give you a lot of explanations, which honestly sounds a lot dumber than what they, what I'm trying to say. You ever had somebody that's a skeptic and they try to give you a logical explanation, and then once they get done explaining it, you're kind of like, wow, I think you might be retarded, because because they do like so many they do intellectual backflips and contortion, because it's just anything. And
yeah,
and
you just reminded me of Billy Madison.
Oh, I thought you were
It's
talking
like,
about me.
I am now dumber.
Well, yeah, and
Listening.
so, but it's just one of those things where when you do get those super skeptics, I think a lot of it has to do with they secretly believe or they're afraid to believe.
Yes.
You know what I'm trying to say?
It's
Who was a
fear.
famous? There was a famous skeptic out there.
Houdini was a skeptic.
Huh?
Houdini was a skeptic.
Yes.
He was a skeptic. The guy that wrote what the hell? The Sherlock Holmes, Conan Doyle. He was he was a huge skeptic publicly, but then it later came out that he was hiring tarot readers to come over to his house at night, because you know what I mean? Because he was afraid. He was afraid, so he would come through the back door. Whoa, that's like something that. Jeez, that turned really quick. That's like when you get one of those girls that are very like promiscuous, and they're like, "We'll play hide and seek," and if you find me, you get to have me. I'll be behind the couch. Anyway, so.
But I just thought of Jessica Simpson and chicken and tuna.
Oh, okay.
I was very skeptic
What?
if it was actually tuna.
Oh,
I thought it was
jeez.
chicken.
Oh, well. Anyway, jeez. So this guy was like openly skeptic. He would challenge people, like, show me your bit. And then later his neighbors, and I think it might have even been his wife who ousted him. And she's like, you know what? This guy, he has tarot readers come over to the house all the time, but they only can come over at 1 a.m. when everybody's asleep. And what it was that he was just afraid. Like he had he was afraid of uncertainty, which is why, the Sherlock Holmes novels. So when I find a lot of these people that are super skeptics, I'm just like, you're either afraid or you secretly believe, and you're either too embarrassed or too proud to admit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did your mom do tarot?
Who?
Did
Not
your
my
mom
mother.
do tarot at all?
My mom?
I don't
Yeah.
even speak English.
She did tarot for a number of years. But most of what she did was she was a medium at the Hollywood Castle. So she did medium stuff there. Her like mentor who helped her with a lot of her abilities was a psychic medium there. So not everybody at the Hollywood Castle was fake. A lot of them were on the level, right? They were really good at what they did. And they did seances there. They did all kinds of stuff, and they weren't rigged. They were real. Now, maybe some of them were rigged, but I know that Susan and my mom were on the level. They were very good at that. But she did tarot. It wasn't what she excelled at. She was pretty good at. She didn't need the cards. She's like Celeste on our Wednesday night show. She doesn't need the cards. The cards are fun. The cards are really interesting for the person being read, but she doesn't need cards. And it's like what you do, Missy Jessie. You don't need the cards. Yeah. So some people use the cards as more of a tool, but I think they're a really neat visual for people. But
that's what I was gonna say. A lot of them, a lot of it is for the person receiving the almost like confirmation. Also, here's a question I had for you. So, you're growing up, you're in this home, right? And your mother had these abilities. As a little, did your mom ever like sit down and talk to you about certain things, like, or try to, like help you and or try to test you to see if you also had abilities,
Oh,
or
she knew I
was she?
did. She knew I did. There was no
And
question.
and how does she handle that? Like, does she kind of help you, or she kind of just like leave you like hands off? Learn
Oh,
how to ride a bike.
she guided me since day one. She guided me, and then that's why I did so much paranormal stuff with her. I mean, she was always there, helping me every step of the way and guiding me and teaching me her, how she was taught. And from like Susan, like I said, her best friend was more of her mentor, because Susan grew up in a different household where Susan's gifts were adored and loved, and so she was much further along in her abilities than my mom. So she was able to see in my mom, who was the same age as her, hey, you this is how you need to develop this, and so she helped my mom a lot. So my mom didn't want me to be stifled at that,
Hmm.
because she knew what it was like. She felt it from
Fuck.
mother. So yeah.
Man.
And I agree
It's
with what
just
you're saying about tarot. Like, I'm the same way. I will use them, but I don't need them. And
Right.
sometimes it's more like a confirmation for the one I'm reading.
Yeah.
Like, even though I'm getting this information, here is the physical confirmation of what I'm just reiterating to you of
Right.
what's going on.
Right.
Because us humans, we like to, and I've said this before in our tarot episode, I've said this before, that humans like to see the visual of confirmation before they process it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Sure. I feel for anybody who have gifts, who for whatever reason, either religious background or just flat out skeptical parents who try to squash it, because it's just not healthy. It's not healthy to do that to your kids. So
Nope.
what if it's musical talent or something, and you're like, yeah, you can't play the piano? I mean, just
that.
constant negative. That's not healthy
That's
for
squash.
anybody.
No.
That's
And
squash.
it's
Yeah,
the same
I've
thing.
been told to do it with my own kids, and I'm like, no, I am not. I'm not suppressing it. I'm going to teach them how to deal with it. I'm going to teach them how to protect themselves, and teach them that they're no more powerful than whatever they're dealing with. I'm not going to teach them that it's not real, because
Right.
some things that
Yeah,
you're
it's like
seeing,
when
they
I was
are
growing
real.
up too. Yeah,
It's
it's
so
just like the same
interesting.
thing. When I grew up, it was the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
it was my imagination, and it really
Exactly.
wasn't. I really have and had these abilities.
Dun, dun,
You're not
dun.
seeing people in your room at 2 years old. It's all make believe. It's a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
I remember one time I saw this room full of ghosts. Turns out I accidentally walked into a clan meeting. So when I see and we just, I don't know, like, so when I was a kid, the memories that I have was we would walk through. So in El Salvador, they have like these open markets that are on the street, right? There's no like supermarkets. It's all outdoor. People built their own little stands and they sell fruit. And I just remember, no,
No Walmart, no Ridley's.
no,
Oh, bummer. Anyways.
we didn't have running water. Anyway, so we would be walking down the street, and like so we'd walking down the street, and then some lady would come up, and then she would like offer fruit, like, oh, I have these fruit, and then my dad would look at her a bit and grab and shove me aside and be like, bruja.
Mhm.
And then the lady would be like, see, and then he's like, all right, let's go over here, and that's just how he was. He just like seen somebody, he's like, that's a witch, don't look at her, don't touch her, don't don't interact with her. So yeah, that's just the way that I grew up. In like in my father's eyes, everything was magical. Here's an interesting story. So when my father was but a wee lad, was a baby, my grandmother used to tell this story. She's dead now. She fell down and hit her head and she died. She had brain aneurysm at 106. Anyway, so what? Anyway, so she tells this story that when my dad was a baby, she was pushing him in this little stroller and she was buying food at a market, right? And she was buying food and she was looking at some stuff. And then she looks over and there was this crowd of gypsy women that had taken my dad out of the stroller and they're like licking his face and they're like doing all kinds of things that she had to go and like basically shoo him away, like with a knife, basically. And my grandfather came and they were gonna take him home and eat him. That was gonna happen.
What? Wow.
Yeah, witches in El Salvador. It's so it, even like if you look at, yeah, they eat children. So I mean, even when you look at, well, yeah, I mean, like when you look at old books of witchcraft, like what is the number one ingredient for levitation? Baby fat. That's why in the movie Hocus Pocus, they want to eat, you know, that they want to eat the kids. It's because the essence of the child. It's fat. So like if you read old books on old witchcraft, on witchery, in there's like the main ingredient for levitation and flight and in sight is the fat or the essence of a child, and you have to open them up and take the fat and burn it, and then from there, you know, you eat that, and then so that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to steal my dad, and they were licking him because they were tasting him. I guess that he had like some strong essence they wanted to consume. So anyway, and then what's funny is just that history, right? And then my dad growing up, and then just like witches everywhere, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But that's for a whole different. That's a whole story. So maybe it's just. So then that's why my father was very protective of me, like growing up. Whenever we walk by, like he'd be like, "Oh, come over here." Put his hand on his machete because he's like, that he's a witch. You know, I do that now when I see like an old lady and she looks gross. I'm like, oh, a witch. Anyway, so no, it's just like it's just interesting how it seems like we're, you know, especially now with the internet and with all these kind of things, we have more access to knowledge. So it seems like a lot of the younger generation of people are going back into those kind of arts. You know, old beliefs, old practices, whether they be pagan or even, you know, Christian. They read things themselves, you know, and it's just that thirst for knowledge. And it seems like at some point they try to stifle that type of stuff. They only try to keep people in a certain direction, whether it's in, you know, even in everyday life. Like now you have more open-mindedness, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of the younger generation are going back to the magical stuff and all that. You know, that's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I got. No, actually, I have a lot more. I can go for hours. That's how my brain works. But let's slow it down.
I don't know if like my brother, I called him the dead zone. he felt nothing. He experienced nothing. He was blank.
Oh boy.
There was nothing as far as. He did not interact. Nothing bothered him. There was not one of us in our family except my brother who was comfortable even going up the stairs to the second floor of the house. Our dogs wouldn't go up there. Our cats wouldn't go up there. My hamsters, I was going to take the big room upstairs. There was this beautiful room and it overlooked this mountain that I just love and I miss. And I wanted that room. We put my hamsters in their cage and they almost like, on their exercise wheel, they almost killed themselves running. Like they wouldn't stop running. They were so freaked out. As soon as we took them out and put them downstairs in a different bedroom, they were quiet. And we tried it over. So I never did. I did take that room for a while and it was constant nightmares up there. It was terrible. My mom finally said, you have to move downstairs because the nightmares were so traumatic.
Oh, wow.
That's also in
anything.
That's also an ability is to be able just to shut yourself down, even if you don't believe it with things like that. I mean, and people don't. So even if you're a diehard skeptic, even if you're as closed off, I mean, you still feel uneasy. Certain things, you'll still get nightmares. You still get unless you have and now I'm speaking in the realm of witchcraft and all that kind of stuff or special abilities. how they believe that there's people that are such a stone wall that they're able just to wall themselves off, from everything and anything. There could be a damn poltergeist in a house or like some kind of apparition, and you won't see it. You put on that blinder, boom, and you're shielded, and you're able to go and not feel a damn thing. And a lot of people are like, this guy is such a skeptic. He doesn't see anything, and it's like, well, yeah, because he's gifted, And so literally a dead zone.
Yeah.
What the hell's that sound?
Oh, sorry, I'm typing a comment to one of the people on our show.
What do you think, Dirty?
You better not be calling me gay.
I am.
About
jeez.
paranormal stuff.
Happens.
Like, what do you think
Yeah.
about abilities? Like, what?
Oh yeah, well, growing up, I always found it odd that I think I was about 12 and sister was 10, and we lived in this little apartment. I always found it odd. And every once in a while, my mom would be like, "Okay, everybody off the phone," and we're like, "Well, I'm not using the phone." My sister had a bunch of friends. She's always talking on the phone. So she's like, go upstairs, tell your sister to get off the phone. I'm like, why? What's going on? She's like, just go up there and tell her, get off the phone. Get off the phone right now. So I go up there and I'm like, okay. Mom says, get off the phone. She goes, okay. Says bye to her friends, hangs up the phone. And a couple seconds later, the phone rings. And she picks it up and she's like, hey, I was just thinking about you. It's my Aunt Sandy every single time.
Oh, damn.
She'd be sitting at home, she's just be like, okay, stop. Get off the phone.
Oh, boy.
Aunt Sandy's going to call. Or we'll be doing something. And she's like, we got to go to the grocery store, like right now. I'm like, it's 8:00 at night. Why? She's like, there's going to be the stuff in there. We got to get it now because it won't be there tomorrow. And sure enough, she'd go there and she'd stockpile and bring it back, and it would be all gone the next day. And my dad didn't believe in any of this, and I didn't either until I got a little bit older, and I'm like, I think I might have some abilities, and it freaks me out
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I work by myself in dark buildings all night long.
Isn't that great?
I mean, right? I mean,
Huh?
that's what. Just talk to people. They're just dead. They're just not in a flesh form. I mean, talk to them.
Yeah, it's like, well, this one building I had to cover for 2 weeks. It's like Decon said, it's like you walk in and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. And it took me forever because the layout of this building is just weird. And it wasn't until I went upstairs and in the corner room, I'm looking at this big green door, big, heavy green door. And something just said, look at the papers on the door. And I'm looking at it and it's like, please disassemble your rifles and your blah, 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 and grenades. And grenades, the hell am I looking at here? Come to find out, it was one of the biggest, I guess, staging areas for troops to get shuffled off to the wars from World War I, World War II,
Wow.
Korean stuff. Yeah, that was the main building where and it dawned on me, all these big rooms I was cleaning upstairs, downstairs were barracks.
Yeah, so I was going to say, was it like an armory, do you think?
Yeah.
Birdie, that is so cool.
And I'm like, no wonder I feel like I'm being watched or judged no matter where I go. It's like
you just wanted to do something, like get the urge to do some push-ups and get screamed at. Here you thought you had a kink. Turns out that you're tuning into.
It's more like,
is that a
leave
jelly
me alone,
donut?
let me do my job. And you can have it back when I leave. That's it. And so
take a. Was that Gravely Hall? No. Okay. Would it be kind of cool? Like put you're in the basement.
Put my what?
What was that noise? Like in the basement of
that was me. Sorry, guys. I'm getting like a sudden rush of stuff.
Snort farts.
In the
No.
basement of the building you were talking about, maybe putting like a chessboard or something, or a checkers board,
Yeah.
and move a piece and leave it like in a closet or something where you know that most people don't have access to. See if the pieces move. Go back and check it. Play chess or
That'd
checkers.
be interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
I will have
Mhm.
to ask. I'll have to ask my boss if I can sneak down there, because it's not Gravely Hall. It's the old diesel mechanics plant, or diesel mechanics
Mm-hmm.
shop. It's
I don't know
on
where that is. Is that's not
it's on First Street.
Yes.
Oh, I know where it is. Yes.
Oh.
I know exactly where it is. Okay. Are you in that building all the time?
Ew.
No? Oh, okay. Okay.
I think you
No,
can
but I
see it
could
on the
probably get in.
overpass.
I could probably get in there for a little bit.
Well, no, I was just wondering, like, if it was a building that you were in a lot, that would be something that you could do as an experiment to,
Mhm.
you know.
No,
Like, yeah.
no, the guy was on vacation, so
Oh,
I had to clean it for 2
Dang.
weeks, and then that
you
was
said
it.
that the building was military as well, military building.
Yeah, it was a military staging ground. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, because it was so close to the
Because of
railroad.
the railroad, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. That some of those old buildings at ISU were barracks too. So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And there's tunnels right there too. There's a tunnel right there.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah. Even though like old stores became like temporary, like barracks, because these people were being moved in and out so quickly. That you're sleeping here, you just pick a spot on the floor, you'll be on tomorrow. So anyways,
where you're
guys,
gonna
looks
be.
like yeah, just never know. Oh, good luck out there. Try not to die. Anyway, yeah, that's what was so interesting. Like, yeah, I mean, geez, a lot of people form friendships, and they form all type of bond with the people that you're surrounded with. And and it's healthy because it's human nature for you to get along with people. But the one thing that a lot of people don't think about is that you're over there and you're with your friends and you're serving with your friends. And the cool thing about that is that when you go overseas, you get to watch your friends die. Anyway, all right, so this was a really good episode. So
Are you calling it
this
2 minutes early?
Yeah, I am. So yeah, so this was a good episode. You guys check out the art, check out the merch. We got some good stuff coming soon. So we have we got a contract for a documentary where they're going to be documenting our life and our everyday life. So stay tuned for that. There'll be some footage being released of us
I'm
just
sorry.
living our lives.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, just stay tuned. I'll be posting those.
Nobody
those
wants
clips.
to see me clean up horse shit in the barn every day. Okay,
I do.
Nobody-
Well, yeah,
I would watch you
you'd
do
be.
that.
Oh, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of
I gotta
People out
figure
there.
out though how to get those live cameras to work out there so that people can just come on to Nightmare Roadshow and watch the goats play on the big spools that I have.
Yeah, that's
Just don't
always.
point it towards the hot tub.
Whoa, no, no. No.
We don't want to know what the goats were doing later.
Yeah. And we have.
So
Can we promote the Thin Line? Messy Jesse and I show is just going gangbusters, guys. We really appreciate the love and support we've been getting. We have so many guests lined up, like a whole month of guests lined up.
what happened?
The shaking with the straw and the ice.
I'm trying to stay hydrated.
I know you are doing that on purpose.
Of course I am. I'm trying to stay hydrated. You want me to pass out?
Yeah, okay.
From dehydration?
All right, guys.
So
Anyway,
guys, so remember to always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Nightmare Road.
Good night, everybody.